Yeah, good evening to all. This is Nasmaburmal Chandramohan. I'm the co-founder of GG Technologies Private Limited, and my company provides solutions for Microsoft Teams migration and Microsoft Manor migration, and also we are providing productivity solutions for Office 365. And today we have Vinoda Muthwali. She is my colleague. She is working as solution architect at GG Technologies Private Limited. So, our topic today is Microsoft Teams Graph API. First, let's have some few words on what is Microsoft Graph. So, using Microsoft Graph, the developers have a unified REST API interface to access all the underlying services in Microsoft 365. It can be OneDrive, it can be SharePoint, it can be Teams, it can be Azure AD user, whatever it can be. So, using a single interface, the developer can access all the underlying services in Microsoft 365. Earlier, before the introduction of Microsoft Graph API, usually the developer needs to switch over between the various APIs, one for SharePoint, one for Exchange, or one for user. So there will be a different kind of APIs the developers need to switch over the entire application. So using Graph, now the developers have unique unified REST API. That's the beauty of Microsoft Graph. So now let's see what are the platform capabilities available in Microsoft Teams as a developer, or what are the extensibility points available for the developers in Microsoft Teams. So very first thing is tab. Using tabs as a developer, you can show your app as a tab in the Teams channel. You can have you might be building some third-party app. If you want to show the app inside the tab in the channel, you can use the tab. We have the bots, and then we have the connectors. Using connectors, what you can do is that you can post updates to a particular channel. Consider that if you are running a campaign, or if you are running a survey to all, if you send a survey campaign to all your customers. So suppose if you want a notification whenever a particular customer has filled up the survey or completed the survey, you can use the connectors. So using connectors, you can get notifications in your channels. And then we have actionable messages. Apart from some plain text messages in the channel notifications, what you can do is that using actionable messages, you can embed actions in the conversations. For example, if you take the same survey example, suppose consider that you are getting a notification that that particular customer has completed the survey. If you want to send them thank you note or anything.
Peramal, sorry to interrupt. So you sound very feeble, actually. Your voice is very mild.
Okay, 1 minute.
Yeah.
Vignesh, is it okay now?
Yeah, it's better now.
There's
Yeah.
background noise as well.
Yeah.
Okay, give me a moment. Give me a minute. Vignesh, is it better now?
Yeah. It sounds better now. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
So we have teams, bots, connectors, and we have actionable messages. In actionable messages, apart from just sending text notification, apart from that, what you can do is that you can embed some actions, some buttons, text boxes, something, whatever you want, you can do it in actionable messages. Consider the same survey example. You are getting a notification. Along with the notification, if you are using an actionable message, there consider that you have embedded a button, say send a thank you note like that. If once you receive a notification in your channel, if any of the user clicks that button, it will automatically send a no, thank you note to the customer. So by this way you can do some automations also. Apart from that, you have activity feed. Using activity feed, you can post the notifications for your users. So, and also you can decide what the action you need to perform when the user clicks on that particular activity feed. Either if you want to open the app, your app, in the context of that particular notification, you can do that. Suppose if you don't want to do any action, you can leave it as. So it is possible. And then we have the messaging extensions. Suppose consider that you are going to discuss about a bug that got reported in Azure DevOps, or if you are going to discuss about a topic in from Wikipedia. Instead of sending the bug URL or the Wikipedia topic, you can query using message extensions. You can query Wikipedia service for a particular topic. What it will do is that it will, in the conversation, it will embed a rich card in the conversation. In the rich card, you will see the title of the, what is the title that you are going to, you have searched in Wikipedia. And apart from that, you will see some small little brief about that topic. So by this way, the user on the other end, no need to switch over to another app. He no need to click and open the Wikipedia in a separate browser. So by this way, you can avoid the context switching within avoid context switching. And then finally, we have Microsoft Graph. So you can use, the beauty of Graph is that you can use Graph in tabs, bars, connectors, activity feed, actionable messages, or message extensions. Apart from that, using Graph API, Teams Graph API, you can build web applications with your own UI. Also, you can build a service or a console application without any UI also using Graph API. That's the beauty of Graph API. You can build your own app also using the Graph API. So in the today's agenda, what we are going to see is that first, we will see what are the Graph APIs available for the entire Teams lifecycle automation process. How you can do the entire Teams lifecycle automation using Graph API. That's the very first demo we are going to see. And then we will be seeing the new Graph API announcements made in Build 2020, which happened last month. And then we are going to see about the new permission types introduced for Microsoft Teams Graph API that got announced in Build 2020 last month. So using Teams Graph API, what you can do is that as an IT admin, you might be creating a team for each project. So you can create a team with a Graph API, and then you can add members, owners to the teams. You can configure the team settings, and then you can add the channels, you can add the apps, you can add the tabs, and finally, if your work for the particular project is completed, you can archive or delete the particular team. That's also possible. So the entire process can be done using the Graph API. That's the beauty. So now we are going to see the demo. So demo will be provided by Vinoda. Vinoda, can you share your screen?
Hello everyone, could you able to see my screen?
Yeah, Vinoda, yes,
Yeah.
we are able to see your screen. You are good to go.
Yes, I'm going to show the demo on Teams Lifecycle Automation using Graph API. I'm using the sample Contoso Airline application and the source code is available in GitHub. This is the ASP.NET MVC application and it uses Microsoft Graph NuGet package client. Before start running the application, let me explain some important requirements. To use Microsoft Graph API, you need to register an application in the Azure Active Directory under the app registration section. Hit the new registration button and enter the name for your app and select the option whether the application is going to be used in single tenant or multi-tenant and click the register button. After register the application, you got app ID and secret. In the interest of time, I have already created on I have already registered an application called Demo Contoso Airlines and place the app ID and secret in the web.config.secret file. Placing the app ID and secret, we are establishing the connection between the Azure AD app and the demo app. Now I'm going to define the API permissions here. Normally, Graph API has two sets of permissions. One is user delegated and the other is application permissions. If you are doing work on behalf of a user, then you can use user delegated permission. Or if you want to automate the work, that is the application runs the background service without the signed in user present, then you can use application permissions. Normally, application permissions are more powerful than the user delegated because it have access to all data in the tenant. So you need to be more careful while giving approval for the application permissions. Here for the demo sample, I'm using the application permissions. To use Graph API, you have to include group.readwrite.all permission, and the application is going to create list in site collection. So I have added sites.manage.all permission, and the app is going to read the user details. So I have added user.read.all permission. When we run the application for the first time, it asks for a consent of permission, which we have already added in the Azure AD app. The tenant admin needs to consent this permission. And the Contoso Airline application loaded here. Consider Contoso Airline running non-stop flights every day. So for each day, they have more number of flights to fly. For each flight, they have to create new team and add channels, apps, tabs in it. So they have automated the full process using Graph API. That is, before the day starts, they are going to create new team for the flights available in their list. And after the flight run, they are going to archive all the teams which they have already created. Now I'm going to create a team for the flight. Creating team means you have to create an Office 365 group first, because every team is resided within a group, and group is the underlying access control mechanism of teams. So you have to get yourself an authenticated graph client and figure out who are all the members going to add in that group. Already we have a hard-coded list of users here. So I added flight captain and admin as owners of that group. And next, add the crew members as members. Instead of UPN, we need to use the user ID for all graph calls, and this function get users from UPN does this. To create a group, first I'm going to define the group by specifying the display name and the visibility, whether it is a private or public group, and the group type as unified for Office 365 group, and enable the mail. In the additional data, I'm going to bind the owners and members, which we have already resolved. In owners at godata.bind, pass the user ID of owners, and in members at godata.bind, pass the user ID of members. Now we are going to create a group and pass the group definition here. This is the graph call graph.groups.request. Now we have created a group. Next, we are going to create a team in that group. This is the graph call graph.groups group id.team.request. And here you can specify some additional information such as settings here. Now, here I have mentioned the guest settings and denied the guest to create, update and delete channels. When we run this one, let's check it in Teams. As the new team flight 157 come into existence here. Now I'm going to create a new channel for the pilots to discuss in the newly created channel. This is the graph call to create a channel, graph.team, teamid.channel.request, and specify the display name and description of a channel. When we run this one, a new channel will pop up here. Yes, it will take just a minute. Is the new channel created here, the new channel named pilots. Now I'm going to add a tab in the newly created channel pilots. Here I'm going to add a map tab which shows the airport location for the pilots reference. This is the graph call to add a tab, teamid.channel, channelid.tabs, and specify the display name of a tab. And in the additional data, I'm going to bind the URL here in teamsapp at odata.bind /appcatalog/teamsapp and the tmap ID. This is the tmap ID, that is predefined tmap ID for a website tab com.microsoft.teamspace.tab.web. And the configuration property is the required one. And you have to specify the link which you want to show up as a website tab in the content and website URL. If you want to specify any link, if the tabs gets removed, then specify the link in remove URL. When we run this step, a new tab will pop up in the pilots channel. Yes, the new tab map which shows the airport location. And next we are going to create a SharePoint list tab of challenging passengers here. The challenging passengers help the crew members to handle the passengers. To create a SharePoint list, we have two steps here. First, we are going to create a SharePoint list and going to add the listers tab in the corresponding channel. Here, to create a SharePoint list, we want the team site ID. So I'm going to get the team site. This is the graph call /group/team ID /sites/root. If you do the request quickly before the team site being created, sometimes you may end up trying to get a site. So I included retries and retry delay here. Next I'm going to create an empty list, graph.sites team site ID.list, and I have specified the display name as challenging passengers and define some columns with fields and definition. Next, I'm going to populate the list with the challenging passengers content. Now the list is created in the team site. Next, I'm going to add the list as a team tab. This is the graph call for a team tab, team ID, channel ID dot tabs, and specify the display name of a tab as challenging passengers, and in additional data in Teams app at odata.bind, specify the URL as /appcatalog/teamsapp and the team app ID .com.microsoft teamspace.tab.web. This is the predefined team app ID for website app, which is same as for SharePoint list app. And in the configuration, specify the list URL as content and website URL. When we run this one, a new challenging passengers SharePoint list tab will be created here. Yes, the challenging passengers list created. And it consists of name, seat number, and notes as columns, and it consists of one passenger's data. Now we created a new team and added new channel and added some tabs, that is website or SharePoint list tab in that newly created channel. Next, we are going to install apps to all the teams which we have created. Consider your IT admin. If you want to install an application to all the teams in your tenant, then you can use the Graph API instead of doing it manually. Here I'm going to install the Poly app, so I define the app ID here. To install the apps, you have to get all teams. Here, get teams in the sense you have to make a graph call to get the groups by selecting the ID, resource provisioning options, and display name. You know, resource provisioning option is one of the property that group does not return by default. So I have added the resource provisioning option which contains teams in the selection. And after getting the team, for the demo purpose, I'm going to install the Poly app in the flight 157. And you have to check whether the team is already archived or not. You know, in the archive team, we can't install the app. If it is not archived, then you have to check whether the Poly app is already installed in the team. Here the graph call to get the team app ID, graph team ID installed apps. And here we are going to expand the team app definition to get the team app ID here. And compare the team app ID with the Poly app ID, and it returns 1 entry or 0 entry. If there is no entry, means we are going to install the Poly app here. And this is the graph call to install app.teams team ID.installed apps. And in Teams app at odata.bind, specify the app ID here /app catalog /Teams app and the poly app ID. When we run this one, a new poly app is installed here in the general channel. It will take just a minute. Yes, the poly app is installed successfully. And next we are going to see clone the team. Here, consider you are running a construction company. You have a predefined template for the construction project. If any new project comes, you can also use the same predefined template for that. Now I have a prototype team. Now I want to copy the prototype team structure for further use. So I am going to clone the prototype team here. This is the graph call for clone /teams /prototype team ID. I already hard coded here /clone, and specify the display name of the clone team and the visibility, whether it is the private or public. And the main thing is you can specify which pods to be cloned. Here I have included apps, settings and channels. For apps, it copies all the installed apps in the team, and for settings, it copies the team settings along with key group settings. And for channels, it copies the channels, only the structure, channel structure, and not the messages. And other pods to be cloned are members, tabs, etc. For members, it copies the members and owners of the team. And for tabs, it copies all the tabs in the channel. And tab configuration is not supported in Graph. So tab configuration will be done by our own after cloning. Cloning is a long running operation, so it responds with operation URL. And the operation URL consists of operation status such as running, failed or succeeded. You have to query the operation URL until you get the status as failed or succeeded. Now I'm checking the operation status. It takes some time. When the operation status is succeeded, it returns the target resource ID, which is the team ID of the newly cloned team. Let's check it in Teams. As the new team flight 4157 with the 4 channels are same as the prototype team is cloned successfully. You can also add the crew members to the team and add the members and owners to the cloned team. And the last and the final part of the demo is archiving. You know the definition for archiving, that is converting the active mode of a team into read-only mode. So users no longer able to send or like messages, and they can't edit the team and the team settings. The only possible thing in the archive team is membership changes. In order to archive a team, the team should have an owner. Consider the Contoso Airlines, before the day starts, they have created more number of teams. So after the flight run, they have to archive all the teams which they have created. Here, for the demo purpose, I have created the flight 157 and the cloned team flight 4157. So I am going to archive these 2 teams, get the teams and check whether the team is already archived or not. If it is not archived, then we are going to archive the team. And this is the graph call to archive team ID archive. And like cloning, archiving is also a long running operation. It responds with operation URL, and you need to query the operation URL until you get the status as failed or succeeded. If it is succeeded, the teams are archived successfully. Let's check it here. Now the archiving is in process. The one team already archived. You can check it here under manage teams and under the archive team. We have an archive team here. If you want to unarchive, that is, if you want to restore to the active mode, then you can use the unarchived graph call here. That's all about the demo. Thank you for listening.
Thanks, Give me a moment. Let me share my screen. Yeah, everyone, are you able to see my screen?
Yeah, Perumal. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So from the demo, you can see that we have made the entire lifecycle automation using the Graph API. And also all these APIs are currently in V1. That means you are ready to use these Graph APIs in your production applications. So these are some of the Graph APIs for teams which are in V1. So we have the Graph API for entire CRUD operation like create, read, update, delete. You can do all these operations for teams. You can add members, owners to the team, and then you can set the settings for the team. You can update the settings or you can read the settings. That is also possible. And you can create the channels, you can delete the channels, update the channels, or you can list the channels. That is also possible. Apart from that, we have the channel message Graph API. What it does is that using channel message Graph API, you can create a new channel conversation or you can reply to an existing channel conversation. But the caveat here is that this is available only for user delegated permission alone, not with application permission. That's a small caveat we have. Earlier, this Graph API was in beta, and during build, it got moved to V1. And then we have the Graph API for the entire tabs automation. Also, you can create, list, delete, update, delete. You can do all the operations for the tab also. And then for the apps, in the demo, you have seen that we have used the Graph API to add a Poly app to all the teams. So you have the Graph API for the entire app management also. So you can install the app to a team, you can upgrade the app for a team, you can remove an app from the team. It is possible. And then similarly, we have APIs to publish the app to the in your team's app catalog, teams your organizational app catalog. You can publish the apps, you can upgrade it, or you can remove an app. Whatever you want to do, you can do that. So these are some of the Graph APIs which are available even. So you are ready to use in your production environment, these Graph APIs. And then these are some of the beta APIs that got announced. So in beta, we have the new API to update the team photo. Earlier we don't have any API for that. Now you can update or get the team photo. And in V1, we have seen the channel message APIs. That is, you can create a new channel conversations or you can reply to your existing channel conversation. That is possible in V1 with user delegated permission. In beta, Microsoft announced some more capabilities for channel messages. Using these APIs, what you can do is that you can get the entire channel messages. You can list down all the channel messages in a particular channel. You can get a particular channel message or you can get the entire thread, the replace to the particular channel message. It is possible using this new beta APIs. But these APIs available as with app permissions. And here also another caveat. We have a small caveat. These channel messages are available as a protected API. I will explain about the protected API in the later part of the session. And we have the APIs for chat message creation. That is as an user. This API is also available as user delegated permission. Using this API, you can create a new chat message as an user, or you can send a reply to the existing chat. It is possible. And then we have the chat message as a protected API with application permission. So similar to channel message, you can get all the chats in your tenant. And then you can you can go to a particular chat. You can go to the particular chat and get the entire chat conversation for that particular chat. It is possible. And then we have the APIs for private channel. And then we have the APIs for per user apps. What the per user apps means is that in the demo, you have seen that we have added some apps to the teams. Similar to adding apps to the teams, you can add apps for the users also. These are called personal apps, personal teams app, that the entire lifecycle management for managing the personal apps is also available currently in beta. So let's now see some of the new APIs. So earlier in the previous slide, we have seen the channel messages and the chat messages are available. Getting the entire channel messages, entire thread, the replies, conversations, everything is available as a protected API. So what Microsoft does is that, or what protected API means is that, even though if you are using, when you are using group.read all permission, you need to provide the tenant admin consent. Even though you are providing the tenant admin consent, Microsoft considers some of the things as sensitive data. They consider getting the entire channel messages, entire the chat messages in your tenant, getting those things as very sensitive. So they don't want to provide the access directly by using the tenant admin consent. What Microsoft does is that for the protected API is that they want to do additional validation and additional vetting process before providing the approval for using your protected APIs. So there is a URL that I have put on this slide. If you go to this particular URL, you will see the complete explanation or the steps to get the approval. So to get the approval from Microsoft, what you need to do is that you need to fill up the form. In that form, they will be asking for the Teams. You need to fill up the Azure AD app that you have created for using this protected API. The name of the app ID, and what are the permissions you are going to use, and why you need to use these permissions, the justifications and everything. They will be reviewing everything, and finally they will be providing the permission to this particular Azure AD app alone. Suppose if you are creating another Azure AD app, again you need to get the approval process. And then we have the presence API. So earlier, with the use of Skype in the call centers, what some of the ISV solutions they have, hardware solution they have provided is that they provide some indication bulb they place all over their desk. So it will glow, the light will glow in red color if he is in a meeting or if he is busy. Suppose if he is available, it will glow in green or do something, some kind of, this kind of solution earlier the ISVs has provided. But when the users got migrated to Teams, the capability to get the presence is not available in those days. So what the ISV has done is that they have made some workaround. They queried the calendar and check if he is busy or if he is available or anything like that. So now we have the presence API. So you can using the presence API, you can query the particular user's availability status. So when I query the status of a particular user using the presence API, I will get two things. One is availability and another thing is activity. In the availability, it will show the status whether the user is available or away or offline or busy. In the activity, you will be getting additional information to the user's availability. Consider that if he is busy, why he is busy, maybe he is in a call, he is in a meeting, whatever it may be. So it provides some more additional information. To use the presence API, we need to use the permission presence.read or presence.read.all. And again, to use the presence API, you need the admin consent. Let me show you the example in Graph Explorer. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to query the status, the availability status of Vinoda. So this is currently in beta. So I'm using the beta endpoint. So user ID / presence is the query we need to run. So the beauty of Graph Explorer is that once you provide the query here, it will automatically select the required permissions. So in our case, we need the permission called presence.read or presence.read.all. So automatically it gets the required permissions. And you can't edit this. So now I'm going to run the query to get the status. So it returns the status as away. And then we have the new subscription APIs available for Teams. It got announced last month. So using subscription API, you can create some client app and you can subscribe for some activity change or any changes in Microsoft Teams, and you can get the notification for that in your client app. So basically you can receive notifications to your client app for any data changes in Microsoft Graph. Currently in Teams, it has been supported for chat messages. Chat messages means so whenever if a user is creating a new channel conversation, or he is editing a channel conversation, or he is replying to a channel conversation, or he is deleting a channel conversation, or if his colleagues are making any reactions, adding some reactions like unlike to the channel conversations. So to all these activities, your app can get the notification. And then we have the subscription API support for the call records also. The call records will be created after a call or meeting has been ended in the Teams. So what is the use case of chat messages? Chat messages Teams subscription API. It is used in this API currently used by some educational partners, Teams educational partners. Let me provide you this scenario. Consider that if a student is posting some offended message in Teams, and if he and there are some of his friends go and like that message, whatever it might be, and then the student got alerted that he has posted some offended message. Immediately he goes and delete the message, or he edited the message. If he edit or delete that message, there is no way for his teacher or the supervisor to get what is the original message, whether he posted the offended message or not. By using the subscription API, you can have an audit log of what is the original message that has been posted, how it has been edited, how it has been deleted, and similarly, who are the members who like the message or unlike the message. So the entire audit log will be available. So there are some educational ISV partners who provide us some these kind of solutions using the subscription API. And then the Delta messages. So using Delta in Graph API, what you can do is that you can query for changes in a particular graph data. It can be Teams, it can be SharePoint or anything. Right now, they have added the support for Teams also. Consider that you are having some solution, or you have built some solution. The solution, what it does is that it reads the channel messages, and it will keep us in and it gets stored in an external storage device or in an external storage. So your app needs to synchronize the channel messages in the particular team with the external storage. So using Delta API, what you can do is that at very first, you will synchronize the full synchronization of the channel messages. So you will be getting the full channel messages for all the teams and get it stored in an external storage. And then after a time interval, say an 8 hour a day, you will do a delta check. You will check what are the changes happened between the last full synchronization and the current time, maybe 8 hours time. So you will be getting the change or the changes that has been made in the last 8 hours. So for using these data changes, you can again synchronize your external storage. So by this way, you no need to do the entire full synchronization every time repeatedly. So this is the use of the Delta Graph API. So both the subscription API, channel messages subscription API, and the channel messages Delta API. In these two places, we need to use the protected APIs. So this is the reason I am unable to show the demo for these two scenarios. So it involves uh, yeah, approval process, and it is a time consuming one, and it got available only a few weeks back. Now we have the Submission API, new Submission API. So during Build 2020 last month, Microsoft have announced that the Teams app developers can submit their apps to their organizational Teams app catalog directly from Visual Studio Code or the Visual Studio, whatever the developer is using. Apart from that, he can submit it from App Studio, or he can submit a Power Apps as a Teams app, or he can submit a Power Virtual Agent as an app in Teams. So once the developer submits it, the Teams admin will review, and he will approve the apps. Once he approves it, it goes to the Teams app catalog. So the entire process that we discussed in the earlier slide, going to use the new Submission API. So using Submission API, apart from this, what you can do is that consider that you are automating your entire Teams app build process using Azure DevOps. What you can do is that using Submission API, once the build get completed, using the Submission API, you can directly submit the app to your Teams app catalog for approval. Apart from that, even you can automate the approval process also based on some criteria. Consider that if the app is an update, the developer has provided an update for the existing app, there is no approval process required. It can be directly pushed to the Teams app catalog. If you want to do this kind of checks and automatic approval, you can do that. Suppose if the app is a new app that needs to be added in the Teams app catalog, then it requires approval. You can do that using the new Submission API. Currently, the Submission API is not yet available. It is going to available soon in beta. Right now, it is not available. And then the new permission types. So in the demo, you have seen that we have used the permission group.readWriteAll. What does it mean? So by using this permission, you get the permission to read all the teams. You can create teams, you can delete teams, you can add channels, you can remove channels, you can read the channel conversations, you can update the team settings. Everything is possible. Suppose consider that I am building an app. For that app, I just need the permission to create new channels in the teams. But by using this group.read.all permission, I get the permission to delete the channel and team also. That's what I don't want. I need the permission, very granular permission, to create channels alone. So for this, Microsoft have released granular permissions during Build 2020, and currently it is available in GA. You are ready to use this. So this is what the group.readWriteAll does. So once your app get the permission group.readWriteAll, you are free to go and change all the teams and everything, that settings, channels and everything. But this is what I don't want. I just need permission to create channels. So we have the granular permission. So once my app get this granular permission, I can do this specific action on all the teams. Still, to use the granular permission, you need the tenant admin. The reason is that you are getting permission to do this action on all the teams, not on the specific team. You are getting permission to do this action on all the teams. Due to this reason, you need the tenant admin consent to use this granular permission. But there are some exceptions for the permission team.readBasic and channel.readBasic. For these two permissions, you no need for tenant admin consent. The user consent is enough. The reason is that team.read basic and channel.read basic will return just the very basic information like the team name and the channel name. Due to this reason, the tenant admin permission is not required. And similarly, channel message.send is currently available as a user delegated permission alone. Due to this reason, again, you no need for tenant admin consent for this permission. Let me show you the demo for granular permission. For this demo, I am not going to use the Graph Explorer. The reason is that in Graph Explorer, I can't modify the required permissions. Right now, for all the teams Graph API, it is setting the permission group.readWriteAll as the default permission. Due to this reason, I am not going to use the Graph Explorer. I am going to use the Postman and so. So to show the demo on this, first what I have done is that I have created a Azure AD app with a specific granular permission. Let me show that first. So I'm in the Azure AD and I am in the app registrations blade. And then I have created an app called Granular Permission Demo. And that in this app, I have provided the permission team settings.readWrite. So with this permission, I can update or read that particular team settings. That's alone possible. So let me switch to Postman. Okay. So first thing is that as that particular Azure AD app, I need to generate a token with that permission team settings.readWrite.all. So I'm going to create a token, user access token first. So I generated the token. And then using this token, I am going to get the permission of that particular team. So I am using the token that we have generated in the previous step, and I am going to get the permission. Sorry, I'm going to get the settings of this particular team. So for the team name is IT Help Desk, and I'm getting all the settings of this particular team. So here we have not used the group.readWriteAll permission. Again, I will show you in jwt.io. So this jwt.io is a website where you can post the token, whatever token you have, and it will interpret what this token has. So if you see here, it shows the app display name as Granular Permission Demo, and then it shows the permission this particular app has. So this token has the permission for team settings.readWrite.all. It does not have the permission of group.readWriteAll. So this is the beauty of granular permission. So now comes the resource specific consent. Currently, the resource specific consent is in developer preview. So earlier days when we developed Teams app, and if you want to get it into larger enterprises, at that time there was no granular permissions or anything. We have only group.readWriteAll. So to use the app, which requires the tenant admin consent, and then while providing the consent for the app, the tenant admin will see the list and check what are the permissions I am providing. On seeing the permission group.readWriteAll, two things going to happen. Either he will decline the request, he is not going to approve the app, or what he will do is that we need to provide justifications to the admin. Why I required this permission, what are the actions I am doing. We need to provide a lot of justifications. Even we have faced with large enterprise customers. We need to fill a long document of 10 to 15 pages document. Why I need to provide this permission? What are the things I am doing? How safe your data in my application, like that. We need to provide a large justifications. Apart from that, you need to speak a lot with the customer. So these are the due to these reasons, it is difficult to get our Teams app adoption in larger enterprises. So to overcome this problem, Microsoft introduced resource-specific consent. In resource-specific consent, using resource-specific consent, you can provide permission. Say, for suppose if I want to create new channel in Teams, in the particular team called Team 2 alone, I can do that using resource-specific consent. You can provide a specific permission for a specific team alone, not for all the teams. In granular permission, we are providing permission for all the teams. But in resource-specific consent, we are providing the permission for that particular team alone. That's the beauty of resource-specific consent. So these are the new resource-specific consent permissions available as of today in developer preview. I'm not going to read out all the things. You can check it later from this slide. So yeah. So this is the screen you will be seeing when you are going to use group.rewrite all permission in your Teams app. It will show the message that it requires admin approval, and then the tenant admin will see what are the permissions I need to provide consent. Once he accept it, your Teams app get rolled out in that particular organization. Else it won't. So to avoid this problem, Microsoft introduced resource-specific consent, and apart from this, by using the resource-specific consent, the tenant admin no need to provide the consent. The team owner can provide the consent. The reason is that we are querying for permission for a particular team with a particular action. So the team owners can decide and provide consent to use these kind of apps. But still the admins can decide who are the team owners who can provide consent to use this kind of apps in first place from the Azure Active Directory. Show you a small demo. It is not a full-fledged demo. So I have a team called RC test, and then I have enabled resource developer preview. Currently resource specific consent is available in developer preview. So I need to go to about and then select developer preview. Now I am going to add the app. I have built a resource specific consent app. I am uploading the manifest. Here you can see that my app checking for the required permissions for team settings.read alone. So it shows this alone to the team owner. So once he adds this, it will get added to the team for the particular team. So here as a team owner, I am providing the consent and it gets added to the team. So RSC is a big topic which we are going to discuss in detail as a separate session in July. So we are going to have a separate session on resource specific consent in July. So with this, my demo is going to end, and whatever the demo that was shown by Vinoda, that is available in GitHub. You can use this link, the GitHub link, to try this Graph API, and all the docs, everything for Teams Graph API available in this doc URL. Okay. Thank you. Thanks for attending the session.
Thank you so much, Perumal and Vinoda, for this session. So folks, if at all you have any questions, feel free to unmute yourself and you can start asking your questions.
Also, we had a LinkedIn group called Microsoft Team Learning.